open. We've heard teams talk about doing that. Perks is a proponent of that for G2. So as we head into the draft, we'll keep our eyes on some of those factors.
Perks was a proponent of that, but Perks also showed exactly why you should ban it.
Yeah.
So, well, I may hope to see it open. I don't think either team is going to take the risk, although we will have to find out. Of course, Misfits, now that they're not on the blue side, not going to see the same bans coming out from them. Now locked into something pretty standard here, whereas ROCCAT have mixed it up. Jace taken away in the first rotation alongside the Zyra.
So we got the Malzahar, the LeBlanc, the Rise still potentially to ban. That's some of the other picks that we had last. So Malzahar, I mean, with Zyra ban and a Misfortune ban, ROCCAT are basically saying ban Malzahar or we pick it at this point.
But of course,
but they don't.
Tom Kench still up and available too. We've seen that used internationally as a counter pick as well, and they want the strong lane, and they're going to get it, but interesting priority here.
There's a couple of things that can happen. If you pick Jace in this rotation for Misfits, you force ROCCAT into an Jhin on this first rotation. You force either an Ashe or a Varus pick in response in phase 1. Otherwise, you ban them in phase 2 of the bans themselves. You can also do the same with Varus with the Ashe. It's kind of this triangle of AD carries that we're going to see time and time again.
And every once in a while, I see an Ezreal. If you're in NA, every once in a while, I see a Twitch, but nothing quite so crazy in EU.
And what the jungle pickup here does for Misfits is basically force ROCCAT to pick a jungler here as well, or at least imply that that's the route they should go. Should be AD carry and jungle, unless they're going to get banned out later on in the draft. If ROCCAT are okay with that, they won't pick them here.
And interesting, once again, they're not concerned about the Kha'Zix. They had the, the potential to take that one away, to give up the Malzahar. They prioritize the Malzahar over the Kha'Zix here and give it over to Kakao once again. Kakao now 2-1 on that champion. For a pretty rough first game against Giants, now coming back looking stronger than ever.
If they want a solid pick, Rek'Sai here for ROCCAT would be one option out of the jungle if they want a matchup that can at least contend, but they go with one that can fight fire with fire here. Look for a matchup where you can potentially kill Kakao if you're lucky.
And I mean, we put so much on Maxler when we look at these lineups when these teams were announced, but he is yet to have a good game. He's already had one bad Lee Sin game this season. If he has another one, do we have to kind of adjust our expectations of him as a player?
Perhaps we do. This is the Tom Kench rotation that you alluded to earlier, where if you let that go through to phase 2, it gets banned away. Nothing is really available against the Malzahar, so now we're looking for solo laners. Now is where you start to pinch the champion pool. So Rise will get taken out of the draft in this rotation. We see Shen is gone away, so the Faxi now can't play it. I expect perhaps some kind of focus on either Maokai or Poppy as well in this second phase of the bans.
Rumble taken off the board before that. It looks like they do not want Alphari doing damage this game whatsoever.
Don't know whether you'll stop him. You can try.
You can just hope that it takes him a year to kill someone and not 2 seconds. We'll see what priority be. Rise, of course, still up and available. We do expect it to be banned away, but both teams have the potential to mix it up here to show us something new, but Rise, in the end, will be taken off the table.
There goes the Rise. Maybe we'll see Syndra being a ban out here against Power of Evil. Of course, Misfits have first pick into the mid lane here as well, if they choose the mid lane, or they can go to counter with the second. Of course, it is top lane that we're waiting for as well for both Misfits and ROCCAT. So Misfits will have at least one counter matchup, ROCCAT will have the other.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting.
Is it a Syndra ban that comes out?
Could see the Syndra ban. A lot left open here.
Haha! Now this is something we saw SKT do, where they just didn't ban anything and said, okay, we want some things that are left available. It's not a Syndra at all. Okay, they want to go for the top lane bully. The lane bully approach that, I mean, if any player is going to do it, it's Alphari.
That makes sense. I mean, like you said, we saw this in LCK. When there's so many tanks in the top lane, you've got Poppy, Maokai, Nautilus. You don't want to ban one. You want to leave all three open. You want it to try to ensure a comfortable matchup. But Hans Thomas says, I'll take something that can beat any of those characters.
Yeah, for laning, this basically takes away every tank available for an even matchup. Now, Maokai is the kind of champion that doesn't really care too much about his laning phase as long as he doesn't fall too far behind. So that's what ROCCAT opt for. Now from this mid lane, Cassiopeia, Orianna are the go-tos, you would imagine, for Power of Evil. Up against this Syndra, you play for later on in the game. Look for a little bit more scaling.
And we did see, Corki from Betsy do very well into this matchup, looked very comfortable to farm up despite the lack of impact that it had at multiple stages of the game. Maybe we see it one more time. Power of Evil taking his time on this final pick rotation. Does in the end lock in the Orianna that you brought up earlier. Now they have a ball delivery system in terms of the Cossacks as well, so a lot of potential for engage here on the side of Misfits, but ROCCAT, so many tools to pick people off.
Lots of tools for ROCCAT, also fairly just tanky-ish frontline with this Maokai in the mix, whereas Misfits don't have as much to speak of. Tom Kench is their tank player in this kind of situation for Ignar, very different from the Thresh where Ignar was looking for hooks. So Alphari has his hands on a champion in the top lane where he's going to look to carry. We'll see whether he can imitate, you know, the Smed plays from Worlds, get in there.
Or if he's going to go the attack speed Kennen route.
Yeah, that's true.
And just watch people very slowly die, but very quickly get chain stunned.
Yeah, it's a build that we've seen a couple of times now. A lot in LCK in the first week of play. We saw it banned heavily in Europe without anybody playing it.
Yeah, and of course, the very early days of that build in LPL when people were like, there's no way, there's no way. Sneaks its way in, so dominant in the laning phase. Marn, of course, mixing things up. Double the Syndra, double the fun on the side of ROCCAT there. Now we're just kind of waiting. Is this going to be another insanely dominant game coming in from Misfits? Will they just start off ball rolling, lanes dying on their own? Will ROCCAT match up with them evenly this time? Will ROCCAT be able to get their junglers involved? I mean, I'm just curious to see exactly how this is going to happen. Yeah,
I'm excited to see it as well, whether ROCCAT can bounce back themselves. They have a fairly strong duo in the bottom lane to go alongside it. So now when we look at how Wadid and Gyanan can match up, they failed pretty badly in game one. See if they can redeem themselves in game two.
Gonna have to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Game two, ROCCAT, make it or break it time. Misfits already up one. They only need one more to secure this in the end. ROCCAT, 2 back-to-back. They want to win this one out. I mean, pressure's on once again. We put the pressure on MaxLord. We'll have to see who he decides to support, who he wants to carry this game out, because he has the tools. He has the Lee Sin. But on the opposite side, you have to respect. Now, Ignar, there's no hooks this time. It's the Tom Kench. He's going to have to play, I think, a little safer, although we'll find out. Wadid and Hjarnan should be safer in lane.
Just going to try and whip people with the tongue. You know, it's the same, right? A little bit more gross, maybe, but... Misfits making an early
definitely
play.
More gross. Solid point, yes.
Hey, that's the analysis.
Gross bot lane
okay?
tier list.
Like, that's what people were looking for.
Excellent.
Speaking of bot lane tier list, is how many things you can get into bot lane to try and give yourself an advantage. We did with this Malzahar, looking for the all-in with the Voidlings. Going to just try and replicate them as much as possible.
And as much as we talk about, you know, Tom Kench and the ability to kind of interrupt these Malzahar ults, before that level 6 point, Malzahar still does an insane amount of damage if you ever overstep. So Hans really has to feel comfortable in this matchup because, I mean, Tom Kench, yes, can devour a Voidling up, but if he burns that cooldown at any point, that lane is going to be very vulnerable.
And that's the thing for Ignar is the difficulty with the Tom Kench as opposed to the Zyra or the Misfortune is you don't quite have the firepower to answer the harass. You have to play a little bit more defensive than you would want to because he's a melee champion pretty much when in range. He has to step back a lot compared to Misfortune and Zyra who want to try and contest, kill the Voidling, and just move on with the laning phase. But this time you can see Kakao has started on the bottom side, as did MaxLord. So we're expecting them both towards the top side at 3 minutes. We'll see whether Alphari can level things to a point where he can get an engage off on Faxi maybe and end up picking him off. But look at how the lane is pushing away from him. Hjarnan and Wadid on this bottom side are pushing in as well.
Yeah, I like this. Misfits adjusting on the fly. ROCCAT responding in kind, knowing where they want to put their early jungle pressure. This time it's not bot lane. This time it's going to be on the top. And Wadid going to need to respect the Tom Kench here. That's a lot of early stacks going down, and Ignar playing nicely around the Voidlings.
Wadid trying to get it to aggro onto Ignar, trying to get that Voidling like, no, don't attack the minions, attack the support. Of course, level 2 makes that a heck of a lot more easy for
visions,
him.
100% movement speed steroid, and they're guaranteed to pursue the target of your choice.
So now it becomes a little bit more treacherous for Ignar if he steps forward. Vision control on the top side has been a factor here. As you can see, MaxLord and Kakao going back and forth. It was actually MaxLord that secured that Rift Scuttler first. Kakao is going to try and punish them by going through lane. Very early for a play like that. Kakao thinks better of it, retreats back to his jungle to farm.
Of course, he's a little bit behind now in terms of the early jungle pressure as MaxLord doesn't even consider the play, goes straight for the Gromp. Will now be able to make it to the lane that much quicker if he wants his presence known. Maokai, a lot of good gank setup here. Flash forward, Alphari pulling backwards. MaxLord goes in, but just a flash traded for a flash in the end.
Flash for flash, you can see that Alphari although typically likes to pressure out in that lane, knew that Maxlor had the option to be still around the top side and ends up backing away from it. So ultimately a bit of an even trade between the two, but look at the CS difference, 23-9 right now. This is why Kennen is such a lane bully. Even starting Cull for Alphari, putting out so much presence in this top lane, going to build towards that AD build, I would imagine, for this Kennen. We've seen it time and time again over in LCK.
Yeah, and I mean, Cole just such a, obviously not as strong as an early laning item as the Doran's Blade. We don't see it in the bot lane just because of how important those early levels are, but when you already have a winning matchup, when you can guarantee an advantage here just based on champion picks, Cole seems so very strong. And Foxy not taking a ton of damage from the poke there, but cannot afford to take extended trades, just has to use those abilities as best he can. And for now, it means backing off, kind of conceding defeat here.
Yep, uses his CP to get back into lane, but you were talking a little bit about Cull, and this is just Alphari essentially cutting a corner that he feels is safe to take. He doesn't want to have to start for a Doran's laning item, despite it being very efficient on Kennen because of his auto-attack presence. Just goes, hey, I want to just get a little bit more gold, accelerate faster towards my Blade of the Ruined King build that we've seen a few times over in LCK. So Alphari will back himself away. Actually backs away with about 1,100 gold right now, so that's a decent spot to be in. We'll see what he ends up picking up. Ooh,
interesting. Opts for the Null Magic Mantle. Okay. Wants to continue to be able to trade face first. So often we'd see players go for the recurve bow. This time, just wants to make sure he's not going to lose out to those Maokai base damages. Of course, yes, he is a tank, but you do still have to respect him. Does a lot of burst damage. He's allowed to line up all those abilities. Yeah,
significant amount of damage comes from that. So Alphari, Negatron Cloak in hand. Almost halfway to having a fully, stacked Cull as well. 5 minutes into the game. That's a decent feat, but we'll see whether he can play this a bit better. No flash yet. Alphari, can he read that Maxlor could be top? This is smart, actually.
Not quite under the turret. Yes, he is. Foxy potentially in trouble. Alphari maybe looking for the stun. Now in trouble. Lee Sin pulls back, and Alphari going to survive.
This is a big change for Alphari, and I know we're focusing a lot in the top lane. That's the kind of play that Alphari would have died in Challenger. He would have overextended, looked for the farm, and just kind of gone aggressive, thinking he had a massive lead in the lane. This time he plays more conservative, retreats from the gank. That is a growth, a point of growth for Alphari that we've seen since LCS.
Oh, but it's not about Alphari right now. It's about Cacao. It's about Power V will flash over. Perfect outplay, but no more mana to back it up. He moves in. Lee Sin's on the way in. First blood drops for Cacao. He could be next, though. Maxlor pulls back. Quick kill pickup for Misfits and a beautiful flash from Power of Evil.
Good answer from the Misfits, putting their priority elsewhere on the map, and they knew that if Power of Evil can hit that ult, if they can get the damage down onto Betsy, it's pretty much a kill as soon as Cacao jumps into the lane as well. So nice focus on the mid lane out of Cacao when everything else seemed to be drifting towards the top side.
Mixing it up, of course, aggressive jungle builds coming in from both sides. Double long swords, the Skirmisher Saber coming in for Cacao. There's a lot of power on each of their hands.
And this is a horrible feeling if you were Fax. He had to recall out of the lane because it had pushed away. He tried to just get anything he could. Ruby Crystal was the name of the game, but a lot of action in the top lane. Bottom lane, we haven't touched on too much in this game. Last game was all about bot lane. We'd already had two kills by this point bot side. So,
of course, we are, as we so often are in this meta, waiting for level 6 in the bot lane, waiting for these big, high-impact ultimates. You're not going to get one from Tahm Kench, but you will get one from the Malzahar, from the Varus, from the Jhin. Got to be ready for that power. And despite the advantage that Cacao has built for himself, not going to risk contesting this red buff. Just going to give it over to Maxlor in the end.
I think it's a smart decision. You can see that they'd already lost track of Widid, had drifted up into the jungle, so Cacao, good communication with his team on that one. Map awareness to know not to go aggressive potentially into 3 people. Does have the option of that Drake. If they can push bot lane out and force Syndra back away, there is the option always available, but it's risky without getting a kill. You don't really want to do it without starting a fight because we saw how ROCCAT can kind of push back against objectives a little bit in their series last week, but certainly always just about vision control, make sure there's no chance of a steal.
Right now, of course, the game, about 1,000 gold in the favor of Misfits. A decent lead once again, not quite as big as previous laning phase. Ignar, not quite as much impact in the early phases with this Tahm Kench. But red buff now contested. Cacao moving forward, knows it's being taken, but Betsy's here as well. Has the unleashed power, has all the tools available, but Ignar doesn't care. Flashes forward, they're moving in. Maxwell maybe gonna look to kick him back, but Alfari's on the backside as well. It's a big fight. Betsy gonna get popped in an instant, and Alfari makes it out with a sliver of life.
You know, you've got to watch out as Misfits start grouping on that top side. Ignar had recalled back earlier from that bot lane trade, and it's Ignar that picks up one of the kills. I mean, Misfits right now, despite a slower start to this game, they still look like they're in control. They're beating ROCCAT to the punch around the map, and it's resulting in fairly significant increases in gold between the teams. You can see they have a decent lead for now.
Yeah, approaching 2K once again as we take a look at that replay. Things just go south for ROCCAT so quickly.
Yeah, Ignar roams up. Maxlor is already, you know, piecing out of this fight. Alfari low, but they can't capitalize on it. Faxi never even got to the fight to try and assist, so it's kind of been a little bit of a bad few minutes for ROCCAT. One saving grace is we talked about how Maokai can afford to come out of the laning phase a bit behind on CS, but he's actually ahead now. This is one of the strengths now that Maokai has got himself a little bit more health and resistances, starts evening the laning phase up. It's a minor point when it comes to, you know, between 5 and 10 CS when you count a Maokai. His ultimate does so much work, his passive does so much work. The Faxi is in a good spot for ROCCAT.
Interesting too, Wadid, a player that we haven't seen as much from yet. He has some unique strategies coming here on the bottom lane. You see Malzahar maxing the silence instead of the Voidlings. Maybe looking, I mean, for the extended silence duration. Not exactly sure what the thought process is here.
That's an interesting one. Everybody we've really seen has done Void Swarm for the most part. We were discussing this a lot in the office this week, you know, in preparation, looking at how Malzahar has so much presence in the bottom lane. You just want those Voidlings to be as strong as possible, replicate as many times as you possibly can to just take somebody's health half off. I mean, that's something that we haven't seen too much. The silence is a little, you know, it's a bit of a smaller factor on this, refreshing the, you know, some of the Voidling attacks. So we'll see what Wadid can end up doing with that. But it's certainly not the strongest point of Malzahar's support.
Interesting decision overall. We'll have to see how that silence affects the coming team fights. If they can maybe lock down some of these champions very reliant on using their abilities. For instance, the Kha'Zix needs to use that Q over and over again. Ignar taking some extra gold from the Voidling, so we'll get caught up for a bit of damage, but not going to matter too much to the Tahm Kench.
You can see how Hans Sommer is adapting his build ever so slightly to deal with some of the tank focus that is coming out from ROCCAT, with Faxi being on this Maokai, and inevitably Maxwell getting a little bit more resistance. You can see he's going towards Blade of the Ruined King. It's something we saw Prey do in the early time of Varus this split, one of the first games over in LCK. So just trying to get a little bit more of that percent damage, get a little bit more tank busting power coming out from it. We'll see how that pans out for Hans Sommer, but certainly a big departure from the way Kjanan was playing it in the last game.
I mean, we've seen so much variance already. We saw Tira the Goddess, the old school Varus build. We've seen the pure lethality build coming in last game from Kjanan, and Hans now bringing it back. Of course, they did change the passive. Attack speed now very effective on Varus. When the passive procs, you get additional attack speed based on your attack speed, so it does get a bit degenerate pretty quick if you can start stacking that, but that's playing safe in the mid lane. Not going to take the disrespect here. Just flashes in onto Kakao. It's going to get him in the end. Misfits a little too quick to underestimate the mid lane talent on the side of ROCCAT.
And good grouping by ROCCAT here as well. As soon as that play is finished, Kjanan and Wadid already up in this mid lane, trying to push on the tower, and you can see the Power of Evil. Yes, he still has his ultimates. That's one thing to watch out for, but ROCCAT had to kind of, Misfits had to concede a little bit on that mid tower, and now it's going to turn into a dragon.
Oh, Foxy going in onto Alfari. I don't know if this is a good choice. He's moving forward, blocking as much damage as he can.
A lot of minions in the wave, though. Heavy amount of damage Alfari would have taken if he had taken that trade, but ultimately, it's a dragon going over to ROCCAT. And that all comes from this. If you're talking about the disrespect, well, Kakao gets stunned, loses a third of his health, and goes, I guess I'll stay mid for a little bit longer. Ends up getting ulted, and Betsy picks up the kill.
I mean, he started running pretty quick, but I just think approaching the Syndra so aggressively may have just not expected Betsy to be quite so quick on the trigger, quite so confident to go in. But press R to delete never seems to fail on the Syndra. Of course, hit his other abilities as well, so using both aspects of the champ. Not quite at the point where she can push one button and kill just about anyone.
At what point does that mean kind of loop round and people go from it being an outplay to ironically being an outplay to actually being an outplay again? That one wasn't, but I'm just wondering how far that's...
that's a little, I'm gonna be honest, that's a little too much for me, man. There were too many layers deep at this point. let's keep it just on the surface level.
Okay.
One guy died. Somebody outplayed somebody. Perfect.
Look, we don't have like a director of memes now that Pulse is gone.
That's true.
Like, he was the one that kept on top of these
It's a big
things.
burden, and
I don't know what the kids are saying, Dracos. I need help with this.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
You can just carry on with the game. It's all right.
Well, right now, not a whole lot is happening. Misfits once again building a decent gold lead for themselves. ROCCAT balancing it out as much as they can with the Infernal Drake. The small gold lead will start to mean less and less as we progress in the game, and the Infernal Drake will start to mean more and more. But for now, it is advantage to the side of Misfits. But for how much longer as Maxlor and Wadid invade the jungle here, we'll get down a bit of vision, and Cacao not caught shopping, is just going to back off here.
Yeah, Cacao backs himself away. Nice little aggressive play on the bot side to get vision control. You can see now Power of Evil going to try and deny Maxlor having any kind of presence in the mid lane. When we look at itemization, Alphari continuing the trend of Magic Resist, Mercury Treads, and the Wit's End, which we've seen a few times on the cannons we've seen. Based, obviously, attack speed. You got that Magic Resist, helps out. We've seen it paired with that Blade of the Ruined King, and people end up buying a little bit later.
Alphari. Every time the Maokai goes in, it looks like he's losing the trade. Oh, out comes the curtain call. Ignar being held still. They know they can't get Hansama with Ignar up and available. Extended silence goes in. Kick back into the team. Wadid. Oh, but he has the Devour in the end. Oh, flash out. Betsy here, maybe looking to throw it in. Drops the minion. Ult to Ignar. That's one down. ROCCAT with a clean dive on the bottom side.
Nice dive by ROCCAT. It was maybe a little harder fought than they needed it to, or thought it would be at first. Faxi's top side knows Cacao is here. They're waiting for the minion.
Alphari doesn't have ult, but flash for Cacao, flash for Alphari. This should be death. What can he dodge with the W? Goes in onto Cacao, gets the Courage of the Colossus Shield, knocks him back. Alphari tanking tower, gets out, and now Cacao setting his sights on that objective.
And now they can even the tower trade, but it was actually a nice setup from ROCCAT initially, as you alluded to, knowing Ignar was the one that would be the target, because Hansama would just get eaten otherwise. It took a little longer than they wanted it to, and Hansama ends up surviving from Ignar eating him. Of course, that Malefic Visions will run despite being devoured, so it was very, very close on Hansama actually dying from this, but good attempt with Maxlor coming around the side, but the fact the minion wave wasn't there meant that Maxlor was ever so, like, slightly late. He didn't have too much more of an option on that. Ignar gets taken down. A split second on Hansama surviving and dying on that one. Nah, again, earning his earning everything in that play.
And Misfits smart and aggressive here to make a move back to get Cacao another kill, but ROCCAT stepping up their performance this time around. No losing lanes right off the bat, utilizing their champions well, playing around the Tahm Kench counter pick, and Maxlor coming in big on the back half to make sure they got something out of that exchange. But can they keep the ball rolling? Can they keep this going? Because for now, Misfits stalling any pressure here on the top side.
Yeah, stalling the pressure, similarly to how ROCCAT kind of turned the game around in the first game for that 7 to 17 minute period where it slowed down. You just saw at the top of the screen that this game is a big departure from game 1 in terms of the bot lane marksman, with Hyanan up this game compared to Hansama's dominating CS lead at 15 in game 1. Of course, a lot of that stems from the Thresh, the fact they got 2 kills in lane very early on.
No. Don't give people, it's
No?
less impactful if you give people context. Just say it. No context. No. Of course, yeah, an absolutely devastating early game last time around. Misfits completely crushing ROCCAT, but now that they're on even footing, ROCCAT sorting this out much better this time around, and they've got great tools to get fights started.
See if there's one in mid lane as well. Top lane's been pushed out. Somebody's going to go and deal with that. Likely Alphari after that recall, but they both have TP available. Betsy trying to zone away with the orbs.
Just throwing down a bit of poke, setting up, of course, Deadly Flourish. Not going to get used that time around, but anytime anything hits, they can find the follow-up CC. Ignar maybe looking to set up the flank here with the ultimate, but Alphari just clearing out waves.
Misfits have pretty good ultimates when it comes to at least defending against sieges, because, oh, hang on, you were talking about Ignar going in.
Trouble, Ghost comes out looking for the disengage, flash over, Cacao's over the wall, Betsy, I don't know if you can outplay everyone. Stealth goes in, he's set to fall, nothing left, he's gonna throw down a bit more damage, but not gonna find Cacao in the end.
Betsy strays a little too far forward, Ignar capitalizes again. A big play coming from the support. And, you know, as I was kind of talking about Misfits, they have good defensive siege capabilities, like their ultimates from Varus and and Orianna are good at catching people out if they step too close, which is why ROCCAT were struggling to step forward, and maybe they've stepped forward at the wrong time here.
Ignar getting aggressive. Has the MOBA boots, so you shoot him and he gets real slow. But before you shoot him, that is one fast catfish. Aren't you now? Infernal Drake in their sights will balance out the difference between the two teams in Dragon if they can't secure, but the vision is here and Maxlor is in the area. No smite to his name, however, it means that the Dragon will go down uncontested.
Uncontested as Alphari had backed away topside, looking to teleport out. This was the play from Ignar. Again, this guy is such a playmaker for Misfits. We were thinking how good's he going to be on the stage of the LCS. Pushes Betsy, funnels him down, doesn't actually do much more than the ultimate.
And I want to give him credit for being a playmaker there, but he did all behind
much.
Betsy, and I do not think hit him with anything before Cacao killed him. But
that's fine. It's zoning.
Zoning ultimate,
like,
an actual zoning ult. We're not just using it as a joke this time. Actually zoning someone.
Just force him, it's like putting cones out so he can't actually drive that way. It's horrible. One-way system. Right to death for Betsy on that one.
Unfortunate too. Uses both summoner spells, tries to go for the outplay. Great dodge on so many abilities from Misfits, but can't find it in the end. Betsy 2-3-0 now. Not quite the CS score he had last time around as we approach the 20-minute mark. It's once again Misfits with a small lead in their favor, but just like last game, it's nothing crazy quite yet.
I know someone's going to clip out that Ignar's a playmaker, just ulting into mid lane. Love it. This guy is going to legitimately be one of the top supports in Europe, though, I feel. If he continues on at this pace, I think we've had a number of supports step out this split in LCS. No more do we have Vander. He's obviously playing, at least it looks like he'll be playing in Challenger. Kasing not around. That's a guy that made a name for himself as the upper echelon.
So take back, Power Beetle locked up, taken out. Ignar nowhere in sight. Nice dive coming in from ROCCAT.
This is good. This is better out of ROCCAT. They made a couple of plays in this game that have looked so much more solid than everything they had in game one. And the slower paced game seems to benefit them. You heard Deficio talk earlier about you want to pick a later style composition that could maybe contend in the late game where ROCCAT have that better experience with players like Betsy, Hyun, and Maxlor have the experience rather than Misfits. So it's interesting. Of course, Cacao and Parabeeble would contest that to the death, and Ignar, of course, having a lot of experience themselves. Parabeeble was not ready for this. Just the dive from Maxlor, clean with Betsy, turns into a tower.
You can see Ignar had the flash, maybe contemplating for a moment there whether or not he should try to save the mid laner, but at that point knew it was doomed to fail, and he may just give up 2 kills instead of 1. But very different from game one. No longer are we in the mid-game lull because Misfits aren't quite sure what to do. Right now, both teams could control this game. All it takes is one misplay from either side. And for Misfits, a team we expected to kind of be the new contender for a top team in EU. Probably surprised here to see such a strong fight coming in from ROCCAT.
Yeah, especially after game one as well. Alphari's been a little quiet recently. This time, though, he's got a nice ward in Tribush, just spots with it coming through, so he knows he's got to back away from that bot lane. Was looking to try and exploit an opening, perhaps, to try and get another tower, but Misfits only have that one tower to their name. Oh,
Ignar under the tower. Betsy locked up. They're trying to kill Ignar, but the Great Helm comes out. Betsy still making it to safety. Maxlor in to back him up. And Misfits, they forced the mid laner back, but what else can they do with it?
Didn't really get too much more from that exchange. The mid tower survives. ROCCAT have had so many people mid lane that it's been near impossible to push the tower down for Misfits. They've never really had that opening in this game. Meanwhile, Alphari still trying to work on the bottom tower. Misfits are a little bit lost in this game now. Not really sure what to do.
And looking a lot like last game. We kind of, there was this point where it all blew up, where one misplay led to Misfits getting the Baron, to getting them ahead. But right now it's pretty much dead even, and really any team's game to take.
Grabs and Freddy, of course, the support staff, the coaching staff of ROCCAT in the bottom side of your screen must be happier with this game. Like, great, we didn't get caught bot lane. We didn't lose all of this advantage early game. But honestly, ROCCAT have been making active plays on the map, been utilizing some of their diving potential with this Lee Sin, the kill threat with Syndra very effectively so far. So it's been looking a lot better. That Infernal Drake may very well actually give ROCCAT the edge right now. The gold is even, but that Drake to their name with another one coming up in 130. Excuse me, Misfits has one too. So it's even. Maybe if they get a second.
Now, could be all important for both sides because outside of the Tahm Kench, pretty much every character on every team, Tahm Kench and Maokai, would be happy to have the additional AD or AP. Kha'Zix especially, as you can see the Black Cleaver in addition to the Warrior Enchantment. A lot of potential damage coming out there. Both teams just playing a game of wave clear and pushing back and forth when it comes to their solo laners.
Something you highlighted in Game 1 has come to fruition in Game 2. Nice, I like it. Edge of Night on Jhin. You talked about it. Game 1 might have been a little more successful because of the Bard, but this time we'll defend against Ignar coming into the back of the fight, looking for those stacks to devour, but obviously that's fairly deep in a fight for Ignar to go. A lot of things that it might defend against, including Alphari.
Harden very much valuing the lethality, will gain value as we move forward, and of course, no one really going to be building armor on this team, so we'll essentially be hitting for true damage at certain stages. A third serrated Dirk just to max out potentially a Duskblade of Drakthar as well. Pre-rework, I would not have been surprised, but would be interesting to see coming in here.
Yeah, that's very true. We haven't seen the Duskblade too much recently. ROCCAT, however, want to go for mid lane. This is a little risky with Alphari. There are wards behind them here. Alphari has the ability to teleport flank if he wants it. He's going to run across.
They have vision. They might see Alphari coming. They've now spotted him on the wards. Dragon instead going to be what they set their sights on. Live now as the Infernal spawns. But Misfits are just going to run it down the mid lane. They may be more than happy to trade this objective. Yeah,
they want to try and get that tower. As ROCCAT just putting Magslaw on the Infernal Drake. It's easily possible for Lee Sin to solo a dragon much earlier into the game than this. It does take a little while, but I mean, what that was a force from ROCCAT. They push out mid, make sure they have a little bit of vision control, pull back for the dragon, and they're content with that as an objective.
Have to consider what the next step is here for the side of Misfits. They have the Kennen. Of course, they've chosen this split-pushing build. They want him to be this powerhouse, this duelist, but hasn't been able to pressure out the Maokai. They've been trading waves back and forth. Misfits, not sure if they're scared to take the fights or just playing slow on the back half, but either way, ROCCAT taking the dragon for free, protecting the mid lane tower, and keeping the gold just about dead even.
It's been much better a game for Magslaw than the Elise game in Game 1. Cacao has had a fair amount of impact, 3-1-1. Cacao himself has actually upgraded the Void Spikes, the Evolved Void Spike 2nd, which has become a little more common than before. It used to be always level 11, you'd get the Evolved Leap, so you get the reset. But Cacao, there haven't been a lot of fights in this game. He feels like it's not as important to get himself back out of a fight, but here's the fight gonna start.
Kick, Maxlor not gonna follow up, all 4 shots, look to connect. Oh, last one gonna hit Cacao in the end.
Ignar decides he doesn't want to block all of them. That would be way too easy.
No. I need some help. You can take a little bit of damage here. You're going to heal up fine in the jungle. Of course, good that you mentioned the Void Spikes. Now that we've seen the changes, the rework to Kha'Zix, they do slow those isolated targets. You get 3 of them to branch out in that fan pattern. So maybe easier to set up the picks here.
Yeah.
Maybe looking for a little bit more one-on-one potential as opposed to the potential reset dream Kha'Zix scenario.
A little bit of sustain in fights as well. You hit people while you're in the radius, you get your health back from it as well. That slow, however, was removed on non-isolated targets. So when it comes to, CC in team fights, it's not quite as impactful, but that was never really the whole thing with Void Spikes anyway. Now that it's like an 80 or 90% slow on isolated, it's really significant if you catch somebody on their own.
And of course, it was Faxi who was isolated in the bottom lane as Kennen was finally able to cut down that tower. Maokai not enough damage to cut through the creep wave
through here.
Or through the Kennen. ROCCAT making a very aggressive move towards Baron. Tahm Kench is very far away, but has the Abyssal Voyage and will move in. Have to be careful. Malzahar is there. We've seen this even from Misfits. Now the counterplay coming in from ROCCAT. They can use the Malzahar to stop the jungler, but here comes Cacao. They're going to get it in the end. Maxlor gets it. The fight kicks off, but Baron is in the favor of ROCCAT. It looks like they don't want to fight this. They're pulling back. They're bringing back every resource they have, and Alphari and the rest of Misfits walk away empty-handed.
Yeah, Alphari could not really find his positioning to TP into the fight, chose a defensive position behind the Baron, didn't go aggressively on the control ward that was in the Baron pit, or any of the ones around the side. So Misfits lose out on the Baron. This is way better out of ROCCAT than we were anticipating looking at Game 1. That was a nice call from them, exploiting the fact that Alphari was pushed out in the bot side and had to use his TP.
And the good news is, of course, that Misfits do get that mid lane tower, but now As long as that Baron buff is up and alive, ROCCAT is going to have the priority. They're going to have the pressure to push down these lanes, to cut down more towers. So maybe one tower for Misfits for now, but it could be way more. All of those inner towers could be vulnerable.
It's been a fairly hands-off game between these two teams. Much slower pace when it comes to fights. Unlike game one, a lot of people look at it and, not really understand exactly how Alphari playing that fight. You'd expect Kennen to just TP right into the middle, TP in ult to Zhonya's, but this isn't AP Kennen. This is more about the attack speed, the stacks of the slow and the stun that you were talking about earlier. Trying to just lock as many people down over and over again, rather than just a one-shot in the fight that we've seen from Smeb at Worlds. So interested to see Alphari's performance as this game goes later, because he's going to really stop doing damage to champions like Faxi's Maokai at this point. Really don't have that advantage anymore. And Misfits slow on this play. ROCCAT drawing them around the map.
Of course, maybe not looking to take that team fight, because you mentioned Kennen doesn't have the prowess. Yes, you have the Orianna, but she's been building a little bit defensively. We have the Abyssal coming out. It's not the death cap. It's not all that upfront burst damage to really win this one out. And good news for Misfits is that they now have decent items across the board. 2 items completed for Hans Sama, penetration as well. The frozen mallet coming in from Alphari, so he may not do much damage to the Maokai, but if he can win the fight, Maokai is never going to make it out, even if it takes a minute or 2 to cut him down. So good things here and there, and at the end of the day, no inhibitor broken with this Baron quite yet, so Misfits not out of this whatsoever.
No, not out of it at all. And speaking of damage, we're yet to see a lot of Power of Evil's damage as well. It's all kind of hidden in that Shockwave right now that we've not seen a big team fight deciding Shockwave. Only 3,000 damage done so far by Power of Evil on the few skirmishes we've had. Betsy's managed to put out 10k. He's caught a couple of people with that burst mage, so not really too surprising when it comes to Betsy's damage. Power of Evil, he's hiding a lot of it still. We'll see one team fight, you would think, where they'll really get that Kha'Zix Orianna set up, and that would be a turning point that Misfits could build from. Here's Maxlor.
Oh, Maxlor caught out. He is going to try to snap out. No ultimate going to connect. Power of Evil going to keep that damage number low. Ignar now moving in. He could be taken down. Oh, he drops. No chance to activate the gray health. Unleashed power not even needed in that exchange.
So much use to try and keep Ignar alive there. You can see the heal was used from Hans Sama too. But they did not stop that kill going down. Again, ROCCAT trying to move around the map. We were talking about Power of Evil, he has to hit an ultimate. That time it completely whiffs, caught nobody. As ROCCAT take another tower.
Too eager to make the pick. The layering of CC not quite enough as Lee Sin hop to safety, and as ROCCAT secure yet another tower. 5-3 the score overall. Finally ROCCAT in the lead in gold. 51.6 to 50.4. It's not much, but it has to feel good to know you have the advantage. Cloud Drake next on the table. Massive wave bottom. Both teams maybe looking to reset here. Baron will start to fade, and the pressure will even out here in the end.
Yeah, only a Cloud Drake though, so I don't expect too much more than just a little smite fight to come out from this one.
Oh, Tahm Kench found his way in. Yarden is in trouble. He's going to get eaten up and spit back into the merciless lineup of Misfits. They're making their way down mid. In an instant, they have picked off one member. Maybe able to find something else as well. Heals now coming in, no member there to respond. They're going to cut down a tier 2 of their own and take that gold lead right back.
And just like that, Misfits find the opening they were looking for. Take out mid-inner tower now, looking for the inhibitor tower as well, because Hyanan and Wadid still not available. 15 seconds on the support, but no minion wave yet for Misfits.
Ult is available for Power of Evil. Cacao can jump in. No flash ult available from Alphari. Will they just try to siege this one up? Foxy, they're going to need to do something to stop this from happening. He's going to go in. He's going to get a little aggressive. Ball used to zone away Betsy. Cacao on the backside, very vulnerable. Betsy gets pulled back in. Power getting hungry for a kill. Goes in. Not going to be enough from Maxlor on the save. They're pulling back in the end. Maxlor advancing. May not be able to find anything. Misfits now on the retreat. Health bars low. TP is available from Faxi. There's wards across the board. But they're not going to take the chance to fight.
An important ult from Hans Sama actually just saved Power of Evil, who for a moment thought he'd overstepped. Thought pushing forward for that little engage he'd overstepped. We'll get to that in a second as Ignar managed to get himself into the back line. Hyanan tried to get out. Devour keeps him there as Wadid had fallen. We came forward and the shockwave hit onto Betsy. Betsy stepped forward actually to trade with his ultimate, but right as Betsy was about to throw out the rest of his damage, Change the Corruption locks him in place, can't capitalize on it, and that could have been a turnaround for ROCCAT, but inevitably ends up evening Betsy's score once again, 4-4 on this one. He's had some good plays, but also has been caught out by a lot of the maneuverability that Misfits have had.
Time and time again, Ignar threatening that back line, using the Abyssal Voyage, the semi-global ult to get behind the enemy team. Alphari now going to clear out that Cloud Drake just about solo as Cacao comes in to make sure that they can secure it safely. The rest of Misfits here as well. Baron up in 54 seconds. Has to be a point that they can contest. And unfortunately for Misfits, we've been critical of their vision in the past. And while they've laid down plenty of it this game, you can see the bot side lit up. Baron pit is completely dark. Ignar now looking to change that.
Yeah, now they move up towards the Baron. Maxlow has to recall out because he's behind enemy lines at this point. You can see Woodid actually gives the assist me ping into the top side. Don't really think your team want to assist you in any kind of fights at this point, but Alphari wants to assist his team by pushing out bot side, keeping Faxeed in this lane, not allowing him to drift up towards that Baron pit. But you spoke about the vision control. It is all in ROCCAT's favor, top side of the map. There's a few wards out for Misfits. They want to start a fight in mid lane.
Curtain call going in, fourth bullet going to connect. Cleanse goes out. Ignar just trying to make sure he can get something, but he's going to get eaten up before he can do anything. Maxlore still alive. The auto. Hansama, no, goes down in the end. Power of Evil ensures the kill to drop. A slight mistake from Hansama still works out for Misfits in the end.
And almost a bit of a gamble play from Misfits is the fact that Alphari held his teleport, did not use it, hoping that at least taking out Maxlow. Maxlow's still dead. This is risky with Cacao still alive. They've got him in full vision, and this Baron is not dying fast enough to 50-50. Alphari's here now.
Alphari goes over the wall, but not quite where he wanted to be. He's knocked out of the fight. Foxy's on the front line. Alphari's going to get cut down. There's no Zhonya's. There's no AP. Kennen goes down. ROCCAT now pulling backwards. Cacao maybe looking to deliver the ball, but the cooldown's not up yet. ROCCAT looking for the 4v4, and they find it. They take one and lose nothing in exchange.
What it ended up being was ROCCAT starting the Baron to draw Alphari up to the fight, try and get that teleport out from him, and Alphari couldn't quite find the positioning. Note, his flash is still not available. If he'd have been able to flash on top of Hyanan and Betsy, that fight would have gone so heavily in Misfits' favor that almost undoubtedly the Baron would have gone in their favor, but Misfits take a trade 1-for-1 in that fight. I believe it was in the end of all things. At least they lost Alphari and then backed themselves away. ROCCAT want to go for it again. This time Maxlow is alive. The smite is there for them. Cacao is still around.
The Power of Evil has ult. We've seen crazier things than Baron steals. Have to be careful, have to respect the ball. It's just sitting in the pit. They have no way to get rid of it.
We've seen Power of Evil steal it with ultimate on Orianna before.
Goes in, keep your eyes on the health bar, it's going lower, get ready for Cacao to jump in, out comes the curtain call, no CC connects on the jungler, they could go in a moment's notice, it drops lower, it drops lower, do it again! Every time! Oh, Power of Evil gets it! Ignar ferries the team to safety, Misfits! Taking the driver's seat back from ROCCAT with the steal from Power.
Oh, he's done it again, Power of Evil with the Orianna. Maxlow had smite, Cacao had smite. This was straight up Power of Evil, just stealing it away. The ultimate comes down from Hyanan, and of course he's just trying to force Misfits back away. Keep an eye, both jungle smites are available, and it's all about the timing. Maxlow is right there, level 15.
There's the ult. No! You can call it luck, you can call it skill, you can call it one of the hardest reads. That's us. We don't look as cool as Captain Flowers. That's what I will say about that replay. That man has his pantomiming of every action down for sure.
That's what I'm going to focus this next week on.
Got it. Next time someone steals a Baron, guys, I promise we will punch the air more.
My Warwick impression is going to be on point next week. You just ask me, we'll nail it. It'll be great, but not as great as that Baron steal.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic, and well deserving of us jumping around for at least a moment. Although, now comes the curtain call. ROCCAT on the front lines. Sonic Wave does not connect. Maxlord getting frisky. Just looking maybe to hope to get some cooldowns out.
So Maxlaw's smite would have been doing 850 damage to that Baron. So it is a little bit of an awkward point, a tipping point on that, but Shockwave itself is only just doing overall.
Kick back to the team. Cacao's gonna drop. So aggressive coming in from the jungler. Betsy's now on the back side. One kill for nothing. I'm not quite sure what that was.
Over-aggressive is what it was out of Kakao. I think he thought Power of Evil had the ball on him to deliver the ult. He was jumping right in to try and get it. Maybe just oversteps the range and the ball snapped back. We'll have to take another look at that fight just to double check.
Misfits, though, still have the Baron, so no major losses. May not be able to get anything with it. So far he pushes it on the top side. Can establish vision control, can set themselves up for future plays. But the momentum has been stalled out. Kakao, big fumble here.
Is it just... No, he didn't even have the ball on him. It was just Kakao jumps in, the ball came in after, got locked down. Power of Evil couldn't get the ult off. And just ends up, you know, having Kakao end up falling.
Yep, thank you, observers. That is, in fact, Kakao. This is MaxLord fighting Hansama, and unfortunately gonna get eaten up by Ignar here. Is a flash taken away in the end as Foxy does his best to hold on to this tower, but the reality is he doesn't do enough damage to dissuade the cannon, and there's so much attack speed. It's cut through the tower, but the cannon minion's not going to let him get any closer. Will still get it in the end. Alfari now very low, but does get a tower for the team. 3K in their advantage as well. MaxLord pulling back. No inhibitors dropping yet for either side. Next Dragon Lord of the Elder just 6 seconds away, and there's no vision here for the side of ROCCAT on the Dragon itself, but so much flanking vision, so much vision behind the team. Maybe an opportunity for Faxi to find his way in. Yeah,
if Faxi finds his way in, he'll have a lot more success than Alfari trying to come in through the front door, so we'll keep an eye on Alfari's positioning. Ignar wants to go with Kakao.
Indeed. Kakao not going to get locked up. Curtain Call comes out. Decent amount of damage.
Here comes the teleport.
Up. Easy on the backside. Foxy going to flash over the wall. He goes in. Hansama now in trouble. Knocked back into the team. Will they be able to get the damage? Backdoor kicks it back. Hansama hand delivered as the tanky front line goes in. Kakao's all alone. They turn to pick him off. They don't find him yet, though. MaxLord retreats. Members traded back and forth. At the end of the day, ROCCAT has every member alive. Maokai comes back with a GA. Okay, I was very confused for a moment.
Yeah, Faxi tried to 1v3 in the back of that fight, and ROCCAT, good exhaust comes out from them onto Kakao as Kakao is about to jump Woodied and Betsy. Another confusing moment as Lee Sin flies into the pit. You're like, oh, it's a steal.
I've done that one before. He steals it from another teammate. Of course,
just jumping around.
I mean, this game incredibly even. You can see Misfits, the Cloud Drake Infernal versus Infernal Infernal. Double Infernal Elder Drake means you essentially have 3 plus the damage buff. None of that really matters if Misfits keep making mistakes like these.
Good TP play out of Faxi. We haven't seen all that much of him over the first 2 weeks, but flash into the fight right onto Hansama. Watch the exhaust on the bot side of your screen. Kakao actually comes right out of the Malzahar ulti and instantly met with an exhaust as he jumps forward. Faxi not really strong enough to contend with 3, but took a long, long time away from Alfari and Power of Evil in that exchange. So, MaxLord, great kick though. Getting
excellent
Hansama.
Kick. Yeah, Hansama, I mean, it's not the other Varus build. You're not just going to have the big crits. You need to continue to auto-attack to get that damage out. So, really not a lot of effective damage coming in from the Varus in that exchange. And so good that ROCCAT have been consistently able to pick members off to start each and every one of these fights.
Yeah, really good start on that. And, you know, you're talking about itemization earlier. We have got that Duskblade of Drakthar. Of course, now has a couple of little different passives and abilities on it. A lot around warding and
now it's got
deactivating enemy
wards. It was rebuilt
wards.
for assassins, and Jin's a sociopath, but it doesn't really line up, I think. However, it will provide a nice little bit of damage on that first auto when he comes out of vision.
Yep. And also assists in vision control, disabling wards. It's great, 80s.
Red Sweeper.
They've got more utility now.
80s in 2017.
We're finding out what they can do. They can disable wards. I mean, they used to be able to do that by killing them too. But.
Well, Curtain Call comes out. Not quite dusk for Hansama, as Ignar's going to eat him up, and the tower's slowly going to fall. Misfits don't even want to risk the fight here. Oh, does pull it back in. That's 2-member power. Just pops the support instantly, but there's no more aggression coming in quite yet, and that's because Alfari is on the bottom side, and he's trading a tower back. Kakao trying to buy time, trying to keep them busy as the Kennen continues the pressure. Jin being pulled back. Garnet in trouble. know if they're going to get it. Meanwhile, Alphari on the bottom
still pushing.
side.
They're just stopping the recalls here because Alphari is going to do significant damage down to that tower.
Get it.
He's going to even it up.
He might be able to get
He's
the
going to
inhibitor
get the
too.
inhibitor from this.
This is so good for Misfits.
They can't stop Faxi though. Faxi did get the recall off. Alphari will have to stop as soon as he's got it. He can still, as long as the team stop the rest of the backs, he can still get the inhibitor.
But Baron is live, and Alphari's on the bottom side. Faxi as well, though. Alphari has TP, Faxi does not. Alphari just continuing to throw out the damage. Faxi doesn't really have a good way out of this. Frozen Mallet makes it so difficult.
Whittling him down. It's not easy.
Ping's now coming onto the Baron. Misfits know they have the man advantage. Are they going to pull the trigger here?
Oh, Misfits, they back away. They don't really feel overly confident on it. Alphari's still trying to just take everything from the bottom side of the map. I mean, this attack speed build, if he just has those prolonged moments of just auto-attacking again and again, he will slowly chop down the tree. It does take a little while. He has got, I guess, a mallet, a sword, and a machete aren't exactly the best things for a lumberjack. But it'll work. It'll work for Alphari.
It'll work. It'll work. Not quite the tools that you want in this exchange, but hopefully it'll do the job in the end. For now, the Misfits hoping to find that Baron as we take one last look.
So this was the ball delivery system of your opponents walking over the Orianna ball, which
Wadid was his own ball delivery system.
That's when you have somebody like delivered to one of those shipping centers and you got to go walk and pick it up. It's a lot more annoying. The success rate is great though. Power of Evil happy with that one.
It did work with the Baron Seal too, so I can't really knock your logic here, but...
Well, the Baron didn't do much walking over the ball, but that was a lot better anyway.
Now ROCCAT looking to set up for Baron once again.
Uh-oh, seen this before.
Now remember, the Power of Evil should not be able to steal this.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Alphari's on the base still.
Alphari's trying to be the one-man band to get this whole thing done, but nothing coming out from them quite yet. ROCCAT need to make a decision fast, because Alphari's may not be able to kill the Maokai. He's just going to heal up in the meantime. Taking his time here. That's a single super minion. Not going to be enough to break it in.
Oh, it goes going. They're just going to rush it.
I don't care about Cacao. Good. Now pulling back. Betsy doing his best to hold on here. Flash forward. Misfits moving on to Betsy. Betsy has overstepped. This is disastrous. The wave is there. Misfits are advancing. You can see it. Blood in the eyes of Betsy as he oversteps, makes an over-aggressive play, and the ball is now in the court of Misfits.
The one-man band turns into three-man band, and Misfits are looking to push in as they regroup completely. Alphari's TPing into this as well. Betsy's still not alive for 45 seconds. It looks like they want to shut this one out.
Alphari, no ultimate, no flash, can't get in, but the ball from Power of Evil is there. The leap, the flash from Cacao. They have everything they need to deliver it. They're waiting. Keep your eyes on Cacao. Keep your eyes on the ball. The fight, nice and slow. Decent damage on the Fax. He can't get eaten up. The engage comes in. Keep your eyes on Cacao. He's going to get kicked back. He doesn't have time. Power of Evil has to make a decision now. Cacao leaps forward.
Oh, he's
going to get blocked. Yarnin moving in, trying to get a little bit more damage out. They're going to try to lock down Cacao. Faxi has killed Ignar. Cacao pulling back. Misfits have overstepped the ball. Not enough. They do not get it in the end. Misfits hesitate on the execution, and ROCCAT hold on to the base.
And ROCCAT are actually about to get the inhibitor on the top side. Nobody's recalling in time. Misfits.
TP.
ROCCAT are TPing towards the Baron here. Oh, and no, it's actually just to cut them off. They killed Cacao.
Hansama locking him up.
Good ult.
He's denied the back, so can they use this time to take Baron? He's blocking the wave so it can't push into the base.
Oh, but look at Alphari. He's in the darkness of the bottom side here, waiting outside of vision control. Oh, this, if they start that Baron ROCCAT, they're going to have vision on it. Hansama defends. Alphari in what would be his fourth game on the LCS stage, wants to backdoor the base.
Oh, baited and outsmarted. ROCCAT have to pull back. There's no one there to stop the bees. Alphari will be able to do decent damage, but he can't break the base by himself. Now moving forward, Maokai goes in, Alphari will be locked up. The team is here as well to back him up. Keep your eyes, where is the snare from Jin? They're not gonna need it, Alphari's killed. The base is wide open, ROCCAT have to think carefully about their next move, because it's rinse and repeat. Power of Evil decides not to push in the end. We'll back off.
That would have been, if first you don't succeed, try again on that bottom side. Maxlaw's just going to push the wave back as far as he can, but it does deny a Baron attempt. Ooh, Alphari trying to be sneaky through the bot lane.
And the confidence difference you can see from ROCCAT now is instantaneous. No longer anything left to protect that Nexus. Suddenly, every play is being cautiously made. It's Misfits who are making the aggressive moves, and it could be so easy to punish them. Their top laner is down, but because there is nothing standing between Misfits and victory, if ROCCAT make an aggressive move, they just cannot afford to do anything here.
There is, however, the age-old chance. If Alphari pushes out bot lane and can sneak down there once his teleport is available, one ward would be all it takes.
Curtain call comes out, Hansama. Ooh, oh,
that's
footwork. That's not gonna be enough. He's gonna, ooh! Oh, nice play of the Rune King to make it out. Ooh. All right, Engage moves out. Gotta be ready for the Baron. But that TP ward, I think it's there. I think I see it in the bottom lane.
Hansama had no summoners from that. That is a TP ward. You are correct.
The ping is onto the base. Alphari TP not up yet,
no
however.
TP yet.
Cacao ready to deliver the ball. Baron dropping lower. They can look for the play.
Ignat, they're going! They're going! Ignat's going with Alphari!
No!
They're forcing!
He's stolen it anyway! Cacao! Oh, they're moving forward. They're going to take it. There's nothing left. ROCCAT make every move to take control of the game, but in the end, the one that matters falls in the favor of Misfits.
And in the madness, 49 minutes in the game, the chaos, the confusion, Cacao takes the Baron, but it didn't matter. Ignat, we said he's a playmaker. Him and Alphari ulting to the base.
He can be hooking people in lane at level 2. He can be getting duo kills in a world where we never see duo kills, or he can be backdooring a Kennen, taking him behind enemy lines, and just going straight for the throat there. And he looks so casual. I mean, he just like solo won a game. And he's just like, yeah, got this.
ROCCAT, you know, it was a better game from them in game 2. It looked more solid. They had a couple of plays, but a Shockwave Baron steal, 2 attempted backdoors before one was finally successful. From Misfits, they just... it wasn't solid and consistent. It was flashy, a little bit unorthodox, and a lot of gambles from time to time, but they just pushed ROCCAT so far in this game that ROCCAT finally broke, tried to take the Baron, had no options left to save their base.
Misfits coming out with the 2-0. Not quite as close as many would have expected.
Look at Pyra, he wants to get in there.
Pyra does want to.
Get in there for the
I
interview.
want to know too, Pyra. What went down? What did it sound like?
Just a glimpse of what's coming soon. But man, Misfits, that game, I think a lot of people are going to maybe become Misfits fans after watching just the madness.
The mid laner steals a Baron. Their top laners backdoors with their legendary support player. Their jungler's Cacao.
Paravival's now a little bit, he's like, hey guys, I stole a Baron, I stole a Baron. And Cacao's like, yeah, I did that. Ignat's like, I won the game. Don't worry, we all did something special. Somehow dilutes the impact of Orianna stealing a Baron, but certainly a massive play
Twice.
from Miss.
I think in his career. Is there more? I feel like there could be more at this point that I've missed.
His next step's twice in one game. That's what you got to do.
Up the ante for Power of Evil. One Baron steal with Orianna ult is not enough anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But, I mean, so I'm obviously very caught in the moment, as are you. And there's a lot of things that went wrong for both teams here, but it just doesn't feel like the time for the critical eye because Misfits, I mean, even in the weirdest situations, find a way to win.
Yeah, they have some weird comfort zone where that was more about individual plays a lot of the time. I mean, Hansama getting caught out at the end with no summoners still survives and the rest of his team just win the game off it is a very weird, unique dynamic. But I think game 1 showed a little bit more of the team play out of Misfits. Game 2 showed a little bit more of team play out of ROCCAT, which there are still positives to take away from the game, despite it being a little messy.
True, we said at the beginning, this has to be the game where Maxwell shows up or we're going to have to reevaluate how we feel. And he did show up. He had amazing kicks, amazing setups to keep the team going. The Tahm Kench counter pick was not enough to stop all the pick potential on this team. This looked good for ROCCAT.
Yeah.
It was not enough to win the game, and to a certain degree in the end, that's all that matters. But at the same time, it feels like as we move forward, we can expect more and more from ROCCAT.
Yeah, it looks like we can. If they can find a little bit of consistency, pick up a couple of wins, there's still a chance.
Well, one man who's no stranger to picking up wins is standing by with Pyra from the Misfits cheeky bot lane.
Gentlemen, and a great cast on the day. I'm in fact joined by two red-hot duo laners, of course. Ignar, Hans Sama, congratulations on your win, gentlemen. And I want to ask you about that final play, delivering Alphari into the back door. What was going on in your mind when you guys made that call?
Honestly, we called my ult and bring Alphari. We already called. If they go Baron, we can end. So 3 men can block. So we already know the win.
Yeah, you executed it almost perfectly. I mean, incredibly well played. But enough about going with your top lane. I want to talk about some bot lane because you guys were on fire. Game number 1, so clean. And you guys are looking really hot just in general. I want to ask you, Hans, how do you guys compare in your mind to other bottom lanes in the LCS?
I think compared to other bot lanes in LCS, I would say we are one of the best bot lanes. But for me, I think I need to learn more experience as an AD carry, and Ignar has been in an LCK and he's bringing me a lot of stuff, so I think Ignar is really good.
Absolutely. So Ignar, back to you. You know, you guys have changed out junglers. You used to play with Wisdom, now you're playing with Cacao. What has that been? How has that been like comparatively, and now that you have a new jungler? What is his role now on the team?
Wisdom was really good jungler, but I think Cacao is more try to communication with teammate and try to more learn English. So communication is different compared to Wisdom.
It seems like it's working well for you guys. So last question over to you, Hans. Looking ahead, you guys have got G2 next, so you've had some experience. How well do you feel you can handle these guys?
I think obviously G2 is the best team in Europe, and I faced Sven. I think he's the best AD, and he's a monster. And yeah, I think maybe if we give all our best, maybe we can take them 1 game at least. And I'm really waiting to face them.
All right, well, you won't have to wait too long. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Congratulations on your 2-0 victory. But that's all the time we got for now because we're going to toss it over to the analyst desk for the post-game lobby.